Welcome. We are Chosen Creatives, and we are here to have honest conversations with creatives, visionaries, and builders who are learning what it looks like to create with purpose, lead with authenticity, and stay rooted in God and who He say they are. Because of the greatest work God does through creativity is often the work He does within the creative. I'm your host today, Crystal, and with us is Lailani.
Hello.
She is the founder of Chosen Creatives. So let's just jump into the conversation. What does being a chosen creative means to you?
I think it just means to create in the way that God made us to be. I think it's allowing Him to just flow through everything that we do, whether that's an actual creative project or just a way of being, the ways that we show up. I think it's remembering our authority in Christ and knowing that He's designed us in a specific way, and we get to share His glory in the way that He's designed us.
And what did you have to leave behind to go through that realization of what it means to be a chosen creative?
I had to leave a lot behind. I think when you decide that you want to walk with God and really follow that path, it's more of a requirement that you have to leave things behind. And part of the things that I had to leave behind was just the way that I even thought of myself, the way I thought of God, the way I thought of people, the way I thought of the church, the way I thought even how I can create. And I think that, yeah, I'm still having to leave things behind. I don't think it's something that's like a one and done type of deal. I think a lot of it was just my old mindset, I think. And it definitely was not easy. Yeah, I think as creatives, it's really hard to let go sometimes, especially when you care deeply about something. But having to shift my focus to God and rather than really coming from a lens of pride or wanting to make it about me or how do I feel in this situation? How do I want it to be? It's more of okay, what is God doing? And that shift in my perspective and just even the way that I create, that's been the biggest thing. It's just yeah, leaving leaving the old me behind.
I love that when you was mentioning these things, that it actually recall me it's a responsibility that we get to partake in as we said, yes, Lord, I'll follow you because you have literally left me behind. What I mean by that is this is me just processing a thought. He died for us, right? He died as us, right? A good amount of Christians states that, right? He died as us. So what are we leaving behind? Well, we're leaving behind that person that we have learned to grow into with the effects of the world. and so I think one of my struggles is that as a creative is I have to be responsible in this way, and how responsibility looks like where the world is sharing it to be. But then it's no, I actually get to be responsible with Christ in this way. And the being part is what I feel like a good amount of Christians do have, especially myself, having this hard perspective shift in the mind and in our heart to believe that we can actually be now versus we're becoming. And there is still that aspect of becoming of course, we are in a refinement. God, fire is real, right? But I just feel like that's what I'm hearing from what you're stating is like leaving behind that person. Have you ever heard that we're dancing on the grave or something? Do you know that song?
Dancing on the grave that I once lived in. Dancing on the grave. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's literally that. Like, I think also it's just so it's a joy that we get to step into. Like, I think part of what I had to leave behind was the thought or thinking that responsibility was a burden. And
So good.
like, although yes, there is a weight to responsibility, there can be joy in it. And I think when we're really wanting to just be obedient and out of a place of surrender and out of a place of like, you know what, I want your will for my life, like, there is joy in actually stewarding responsibility. And when we're creating something, when we're putting something out into the world, it doesn't matter if one person sees it or 1,000 people see it, there's responsibility that's there. So I think being able to honor that and have reverence in that, but also knowing that you actually don't have control of the outcome. It's God, right? It's God who is the one that's really in control.
And I was actually going to say that too, in alignment with your saying, is that there's this expectancy of knowing that although you may not know, you will know, because as we continue to seek him, right, he will show us exactly which path to take, how to respond. No, that's not me, but there's grace, right? And I wanted to ask for your take on this statement here. It states, the greatest work God does through creativity is often the work he does within the creative.
Yeah, I think, like, I kind of see it as creativity. It can often be viewed as like the final product in a way, where it's like we can think of it as like, oh, the goal is the creativity, but it's actually not. It's the entire process. And the creativity and the creative themselves, they're working in unison. Like, it's not something that's separate. So if we think that creativity is the vehicle, then we can only assume that only when we're creative, we're listening to God or we're hearing God, which isn't necessarily, I don't think it's necessarily true. But if we think about how the first thing that God did was to create, and he created us in his image. So us identifying as creatives, it's not really to box ourselves into that identity. It's more so owning and declaring the way that God already made us. So I think that really, like, there's this conception that a creative might be someone who does something like, drawing or music or, I don't know, dance, whatever it is, like these traditional forms of creative outlets. But really, it's just the way that God designed every person. Every person is creative in different ways. So I think there's that aspect. But then if we want to narrow down to what does that look like tangibly in a specific industry or in a specific just like hobby or career path, whatever that is, then in that case, the creative is the creativity. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like, you're not creative because you're doing something a certain way. You're creative because that's how God made you.
That sounds good. I did not think of that. I think what came to my mind is that saying of like, it's not the destination, it's the process kind of thing. And I look forward to hearing more of the process. of many creatives coming on this podcast. What has God been teaching you in this season?
Well, this is super fresh, but I guess as I'm sharing this, there's two things that I'm actually processing in real time. One of them being is he's teaching me how to be more bold in the timing and the rate at which I execute. So for me in the past, even before coming to Christ, but it's still a journey, right? It's like sometimes there's ideas or there's things that God is telling you to do and you just don't do it. And there's a lot of moments where I know that God was showing me things and I just didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to, honestly, I didn't want to take responsibility. And he's showing me now that being obedient to him and being okay with responsibility isn't something that is like, it's not a chore. It's something that I get to do. And so he's showing me the joy in that. And he is also showing me the importance of precision. So I think that as creatives especially, it's really easy to fall into chaos. And I think also there's a worldly view of creativity where it can be viewed as something that is stemmed from this place of only, grief or trauma or, again, like things that are just out of order, right? So when it comes to precision and order, like that wasn't something that I was always like excited about or like that I even cared about. But he's shown me that like there's actually a lot of intent and precision in creativity. Like if you think about the 7 days that the world was formed, that he created, right? Like every single thing, every single day had an intent, like even down to the design of an animal or the stars or whatever. Like every single thing was precise, right? And from an outside view, we can see as like, oh, like, it just happened out of thin air kind of thing. But it's like every single thing was precise. And so he's teaching me what that looks like in my life, but also how can I actually step more into that in different areas of life.
Okay, what was coming into mind is because, of course, I get to see a lot of behind the scenes. That's a privilege, right? And as a person, unfortunately, I'm learning to not take that for granted, right? The behind the scenes. But what I'm understanding is you're learning also how to work with other people, with other creatives, right? Because they also have a position, they also have responsibility, and how do we communicate? And so that's also another way of creative form, communicating with each other to make things move forward. And in that case, leading to the next question is stating that, what are you believing for next?
Ooh, yes. What am I believing for next? I think just a greater sense of unity within the body of Christ. That's the simplest way I can say it. But also, my heart is just to really have these conversations to shed light on what it is that God is working in. I think a lot of times, especially if you do identify as a creative, we want to hide things. we want to keep it, hidden, because it can be vulnerable and it can be scary to put things out. But I think the more that we can come together in actually sharing and just, creating and creating together, the more that we can just glorify him. I think that, yeah, I truly believe in the power of God. I believe in the love of God. I believe in the grace of God, and I believe that he's really excited for his children to come together and come together in new ways beyond like even what we could ever expect or imagine.
And what would you say to the creative that is waiting? Waiting to start,
Yeah,
waiting to share,
yeah,
waiting to talk about,
yeah.
just waiting.
It's time. It's time, and I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this, that it's not a drill. If you're watching this, it's for a reason. And that very thing that you're probably most afraid to do or most afraid to put out there is the very thing that God is asking you to be obedient to. And know that you're not doing it by yourself. You're not doing it alone. You're in a perfect time to do this because there are brothers and sisters who are ready to create with you, right? He didn't call you to do it by yourself. So I think I also just want to encourage you in that of like, he just needs your yes, and everything else will follow.
So as you go back to your everyday life, remember this. The greatest work God does through creativity is often the work he does within the creative. So may you continue to create boldly, steward your gifts faithfully, and trust that God is shaping you even as you build what he has placed in your hands. So thank you for joining us today in our conversation. If this is a encouraged episode for you, share it with another creative and subscribe to this channel for more future episodes to come. Until next time, keep creating boldly.
Dun dun.